Hey, welcome back, everyone. Hope all of you are doing well out there and staying narcissist free. Well, guys, today we're going to talk about crazy conversations and the narcissist. I'm sure a lot of you have had plenty of crazy conversations with your narcissist, especially if they are a severe malignant narcissist. You know, the severe malignant narcissist is extremely dangerous, toxic, and manipulative, and their conversations can be really exhausting. I mean, they don't make any sense. They're crazy, like the title of this video. You know, you end up thinking, okay, there's definitely something wrong with this person. But for a lot of you, you couldn't put your finger on it. There wasn't any information about narcissistic abuse or severe malignant narcissists or severe covert narcissists, etc., for you to know really what you were dealing with. But you knew, my gosh, there's something that is majorly off with this person. Their conversations don't seem human half the time because they're so ridiculous. You know, as I've said in prior videos, the narcissist tells stupid lies. They tell illogical lies and things that are extremely obvious and easily proven as lies. So their conversations are just as ridiculous many times, and they will divert the attention away from whatever the subject is. And usually you're having a conversation with them about their horrible behavior. And it really gets to be crazy talk. You know, the word salad stuff they talk about, a mix mash of topics and subjects until your head is spinning and you end up being berated and accused of things, and your behavior is being addressed in the end, not the narcissist. They project whatever you're trying to talk about with their behavior. You're trying to make them accountable for their poor behavior. And instead, the narcissist is very skilled at twisting and turning the conversation around onto you. So you are the one in need of change. You are the one who's behaving badly. You are the one that they can't stand being around or dealing with. And you end up in tears thinking, how did this happen? I just wanted to talk to them about that horrible thing they did once again. There's no change in behavior with narcissists, you know, severe narcissists anyway. They really do not change, guys. But yet, you know, a lot of us who are empaths and we're capable of change and we're self-aware, we assume that if they have our best interests at hand, which they don't, we find that out later, though, unfortunately, you know, we think that people are genuinely good and that they would care, that they would have a sense of empathy and compassion for their partner or their relative or their coworker or their friend, whoever the narcissist is in your life, you know, that they would have general concern for you as a person and want to change and be affected by your pain. But no, they're not. They basically avoid all confrontation and all accountability. They are not self-aware. They're not capable of self-reflection. So they will just turn it around on the target. And next thing you know, all these crazy things that are unrelated start coming up in the conversation. You know, it's the word salad. Now, why do they do this? Why do they divert the conversation? Obviously, to avoid accountability, to deflect so they don't have to answer anything and come up with these lies. But they do this again because they feel entitled and superior. They feel that they don't have to give accountability. They feel that they don't have to answer or face their dishonesty if that's what happened, which is usually the case. They have a fear of being vulnerable and of being shamed and confronting, you know, their bad behavior. And they have an inability to empathize with anybody. So it's all about how they can save face. They really don't care how they do it. So they really don't have any logic in their answers if they're confronted. You know, they'll say the most ridiculous things and things that are very illogical. You know, a lot of things that are illogical will come out of their mouth and you're thinking, what? Where did they get that from? They'll go off on a tangent. Okay, they'll go off on things that are completely irrelevant to the conversation, and you have to pin it down and try to bring them back to the subject at hand, because they'll start going on turning it around on you. Well, remember, you know, a year ago you did this, or you're just insecure, or it's your problem, and they'll avoid the question that way. It's a circular conversation, guys. It's circular, and it's just repeat key phrases Nobody likes you, they'll say, or it's you, or you're insecure, or I already told you, why can't you get over it? They'll just keep going around with the same points over and over again, and they won't address their behavior or the issue at hand, which is 99 times out of 10 their evil behavior and their deceptive ways and their hurtful actions in the past. And that it's usually that which you are trying to find answers for or have them change. And it just goes around in a circle, guys. They distract from the topic at hand. They contradict themselves. They say one thing and then they claim the opposite is true in the next breath. Nothing they say is true. And you end up with your head spinning like, how can somebody come up with such illogical and obvious untruths and lies, so easily? And it seems like they actually believe them, don't they? I mean, they will look and say, it is you, and I'm telling you, but they change their story 3 times. You have the evidence right in your hand, maybe, and you're holding it in front of them, and they'll still deny it. They don't care. They actually feel that they are entitled to lie and that everybody should believe them, regardless of how ridiculous their alibi is, or their answers are, or their defense is, or their denial of what you know to be true. You could have the evidence right in your hand, like I said, and they will look at it and deny it. Like, you can hold, as I said, their picture up that you got off of a dating site, and it's them. It's a picture that you took of them that they used on their dating site to find supply behind your back. And when you're holding their picture from the dating site and their whole profile of lies that you found on a dating site, they will look at you and say, that's not me. Who is that? I don't recognize that person. And it's clearly them because you took the picture. And it's illogical, ridiculous lies like that just come spewing out of their mouth. It's almost like you're dealing with a child. Look up the video um, that has "This is very strange" video. I think that's the name of the video. You can check it out. Um, that's on this channel. This is very strange. It has to do with that type of behavior, explaining good behavior 101 to a grown up, to somebody who is successful in business or has had a certain amount of responsibility in their life. And to the outside world, they're very mature and successful and seemingly charming, winning people over. But then you have to explain basic manners, basic, you do not lie, you do not cheat, behavior 101 to them. It's exhausting. That is not your job to do, guys. It's not your job to do. Your job isn't to raise them like a child, teaching them right from wrong. They should already know that by now, whether it's an intimate relationship or an adult sibling or a parent or an adult child or a coworker or a best friend that you think is your best friend and you find out they're a narcissist. You shouldn't have to explain basic consideration and kindness to somebody who's a grown adult. They should know. So they know what they're doing. They absolutely do know what they're doing. You can't tell me that they don't understand that as an adult. Having responsibility and going through so many things in life nobody told them before. I can't imagine that. And so targets find themselves explaining what they did wrong, what the narcissist did wrong, explaining their bad behavior, explaining why they hurt you if they cheated or lied. There's no explanation with that. They should just understand how painful it is, but they don't have empathy and they're not self-aware. They really don't want to admit anything that they've done wrong. They feel entitled to just do what they want to do without any consequences. And believe me, if there isn't any consequences for the narcissist, they will just continue to do worse. I'll have a video on how the narcissist tests you coming up. And there's a lot of ways they test you that you guys should know about. It's all a manipulation. It's all a strategy so they can get away with more and more and more. It's all about them and what they want from you and what they want to get away with you. Also, there'll be a video coming up, hopefully soon, I hope soon, about, when it looks like the narcissist is prospering or when the narcissist has moved on. Believe me, the Lord will deal with them. It's just a matter of time. They find ways of trying to find targets, new targets, but it's actually, a target that will tolerate what they want to do. Somebody who's perhaps more vulnerable or puts up with what they do a lot better than you do or easier than you do or allows more things than you do. They'll find somebody who's more naive a lot of times so they can do what they do. So don't think that, they've won the prize or they're so happy. It's just a lot of times they realize that you were onto their game, guys. So a lot of times in these circular conversations, they'll have some kind of patronizing tone. They'll act like you are the problem. They'll turn it around on you. They'll speak in a slow, exaggerated manner. They'll belittle your ideas or opinions. And again, they'll really put your education down or your intelligence level down. They'll insult your intelligence several times. Like, are you sure you understand what I'm saying? That type of thing. Or, I would talk about work more, but I don't think you would get it or understand what I do. That type of thing. They'll always kind of put you in your place intelligence wise, or they think that you're not on the same level as them. That's just a given with narcissists. They'll also overgeneralize, guys, in their conversations. It'll be everybody hates you, nobody likes you, everybody thinks this, everybody loves me, everybody thinks that I'm this and you're not. That is abuse. That is an abusive statement that a malignant narcissist use and severe narcissists do. They'll say, you never act like this, you always are like that. If they use always and never and nobody, that's overgeneralization. Okay, they can't speak for the masses. They're intimidating you with that type of statement. It's a form of verbal abuse. It's a manipulation to exert control and dominance in the conversation, guys. And of course, there's projection in these circular conversations. It goes around. They'll blame shift if you're trying to talk about something heinous that they did, or perhaps a lot of things they've done, because nothing ever gets resolved with them. They'll use projection and blame shifting, guys, to confuse you and control you and have you start getting upset and crying because they're attacking you and turning everything around on you, and it's your fault. And you're thinking in your head, how did this conversation about how they lied or cheated or did the horrible thing or intentionally hurt me turned into me being hated and doing everything wrong and being a bad person? But that's what they do. The conversation starts out with what they did and how you were hurt and what you want to talk about, as far as them, addressing their behavior and being accountable for what they did. And their way of handling it isn't admitting what they did, isn't being self-reflective at all. It's just projection. And they'll take what they did and put it on you. If you know for a fact that they were unfaithful, they will turn it around and accuse you of cheating. And they know you have 10 guys, and they know that you were with somebody the other night when you were home alone watching TV with your cat. They will accuse the target of so many horrible things because that's what they were doing a lot of times. If they're guilty of something, that's what they have to turn around and place on you. They'll also gaslight a lot, guys. That's a given. The gaslighting is endless. It is severe abuse in the DSM, mental abuse. It's having you doubt your reality. It's causing confusion. It's a psychological abuse, questioning your memory and your perception of events and the reality of them. And their intent is for you to feel like you are crazy, like maybe you just imagine things, or you saw them do something, but they're telling you it didn't happen and that your vision is bad or that your hearing is off. You didn't hear that conversation on the phone. They're a deceiver and a liar. There's no truth in them. There's no truth in them. You can try to have a conversation about the truth. You can confront the deception and lies, and they are never accountable. They will never admit that they are wrong. They will just turn it around and place it on you and make you feel like you are losing touch with reality, that you're too sensitive, that you're overreacting, that you're too dramatic. And again, they'll use the generalizations. Everybody knows you're crazy. Everybody knows you're too dramatic. Everybody knows you're this or that. And it wears on you. If you listen to that enough every day, or within a relationship, whether it's a intimate relationship or a relative or a work environment or a friendship, or so-called friendship anyway, you'll start questioning yourself. You start questioning your competency, your sanity, and your memory. You really will start thinking, well, maybe it is me. Well, maybe it is my mind. Maybe it didn't happen the way I saw it or the way I think. Maybe I am being paranoid. If you have to be a detective in a relationship, guys, it's time to go. If you find yourself investigating and trying to prove that what you saw was correct or what you heard was correct, or if they're telling you it's you and you know they're lying, if you have to, hire somebody or do your own investigative work, uh, really, that is evidence right there. You do not trust the person. You have reasons not to trust the person. You're not going crazy, and your peace should be a priority. It's never good to have a heightened sense of panic or anxiety or fear in a relationship. That's from the adversary. And it's a way to weaken you. It's a way to have you focus on what the narcissist is doing and take the focus off of God and your calling for God and your sense of peace and your ability to help other people. It's all on your survival daily, which is not how God wants you to be in life. Now, another part of the circular conversations and the crazy talk that happens with a severe narcissist is their narcissistic rage. You may confront them about something that they did or something that you found or some evidence of deception, and the narcissist will automatically just start raging. They will go into a narcissistic rage immediately. It's just an intense emotional response because you threaten their sense of worth and their superiority and their perfection that they try to present to everybody and their public image. You've cracked it. You found that they're not so squeaky clean, and you're calling them on their deception and how it hurt you, and they feel threatened. So they will just, many times just start raging and talk nonsense. But it's really a crazy way to behave when they are confronted enough with such truths that you've discovered that they go into this narcissistic rage like a monster, but then they just act like that's normal, the next day or 2 days later. And they may stomp off to go be with different supply or to punish you, so to speak, and go silent. But then they'll come back and act like, hey, you want to have lunch? It's just the weirdest behavior. They expect you just to be all better regardless. And that in itself is insanity, guys. That's enough to make you just think, okay, this is insanity. I mean, how does somebody have any type of realistic conversation or normalcy in a relationship like that? But this is the craziness of a narcissistic relationship, guys. The other thing that they do is they play the victim, okay? And they'll use that so they can control the conversation and deflect from the topic at hand, you know? And they'll talk about how they can't tolerate you, and they can't believe that you would accuse them of such things, and you attack me for no reason, you do this without reason, I'm always dealing with you, et cetera, et cetera. How am I going to tolerate you? And so they play the victim as though you are inconveniencing them and that they are going out on a limb dealing with you, and that they are superior for dealing with somebody as horrible as you. So, what do you do about this, guys? What do you do? Well, you try to not react, number one. Try not to get emotional. I know it's extremely hard, guys, but you have to stay focused on the topic at hand. You have to just kind of bring them back to the question that you asked them, right? And if they're getting into a confrontation or a conflict, and if they're just trying to fuel you to be able to berate you and insult you and storm off or exude power and control, don't engage with that. Say, you know what? I'm not engaging with this. I am not engaging with this in this type of crazy talk. Sorry. Keep your emotions down. Try to remember not to react. And that's what they can't stand. They want you to give them supply, even negative supply. Even if you start screaming, hollering, they know you care about them, right? They know that you love them if you do that, and that's what causes them to want more, attention from you. Even if it's negative attention, they still want it. They want you to fawn and cry and get all upset over them. It makes them feel important, guys. It's your fault, don't you know? That they will do things like that. So don't engage with that. Don't give them a chance to do that. Just say, as long as you're going to do that, I'm not going to talk to you about this. When you're ready to, take accountability for what you did and discuss what happened, then, fine. But chances are the narcissist will never do that. They will just come back around and say, do you want to have lunch? Or, hey, let's go here. They'll act like nothing happened. And watch my video when the narcissist acts like nothing happened. It is the most bizarre behavior you can imagine. Just like this word salad, it's really playing with your reality. It's gaslighting the whole situation that happened before. If you got into a knockdown, drag out fight, or they went ballistic during a conversation and started ripping you apart and storming off in a rage, they act like that didn't happen. Complete gaslighting of the event. And they'll be like, why are you mad? How come you don't want to have lunch with me? Like, they can't even imagine, right? And you're thinking in your head, well, like, I have a laundry list of reasons why I don't want to have lunch with you, right? Or see you or deal with you. But they just act like, really? Wow, what did I do? I mean, they act dumb. And they're not dumb, guys. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Bottom line is, set your boundaries. Clearly establish what you will and won't tolerate in a conversation. If they start attacking your character, say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to continue the conversation now. If they start insulting anything about you, your appearance, or people you love, or bringing third parties and triangulating the conversation, bring them back. Like, this is about us. Why is that person involved in our conversation? They have no place in this conversation. Bring them back to the issue at hand between the two of you. Don't let them bring third parties in. Use the I statements. Try to say, I had this happen. I feel like this. Try not to turn it around pointing you, because narcissists, get enraged at that, obviously, when you're holding them accountable. So the more you say, I felt like this when that happened, and I can't deal with this when, I was the subject of your joke or whatever it is. If you put it on you, they don't feel as attacked. But if they start attacking you, if they start projecting and doing all these tactics I mentioned, try to bring it back to the question that you had in the beginning of the conversation, whatever needed, resolution. But unfortunately, guys, narcissists aren't great at resolving issues. You know that, and I know that. They talk word salad, go around in a circle, and they just do worse the next time. So each time you are trying to have a conversation with a narcissist about resolving issues, there's more and more issues to resolve, because none of them have been solved or resolved. They are just an unending ball of confusion in people's lives when it comes to trying to resolve issues of the heart, especially with the narcissist or their behavior. They don't want to change. They don't want to be accountable to anybody. They don't want to admit being wrong. They just want to see what they're capable of getting away with. And unless you put these boundaries up for their behavior and what you'll tolerate in a conversation or with their treatment of you, it'll just get worse and worse and worse. And many times, if you hold those boundaries firm in your life, the narcissist, won't try them again. They'll know that they can't win with it, and they'll try another strategy. It isn't as though they'll stop trying to break your boundaries. They'll try to find new things to do to you that need new boundaries. That's how they are, guys. It's not as though all of a sudden they're going to turn into a better person if you put boundaries up. They may just find somebody else that doesn't have as many boundaries, a new form of supply that they can get away with those things with. They're really something. It's all about them and what they want in life. And if you're not supplying it, boy, they'll just find somebody else to supply it for them. So, the word salad, the confusing, crazy talk with a narcissist is really difficult to understand. You end up thinking this person is not human. They go off on the most crazy subjects. It's almost as though they're like, they were plugged into the wall and somebody unplugged it, and they're a robot just spewing out crazy stuff after being unplugged. It's like, oh, I mean, therefore here too, whereas I, and you're thinking, what the heck are they talking about? Unless you've witnessed it, it's very hard to describe. But they have moments of really not being human when they talk. You're wondering, what the heck are they talking about? The target ends up being confused, frustrated, and really uncertain about anything that they're saying. Bottom line is, don't engage. So recognize the signs of that. Nothing seems to get resolved with a severe malignant narcissist in one of these crazy talk conversations, so don't expect it to. A lot of times narcissists, they will just end up hurting you far worse during the conversation, or doing something worse during the conversation. They will offer to talk to you many times. Hey, let's meet and talk. Of course, let's talk. Let's just do this. And it's just because they're lonely, or they want somebody to be with, or they think that'll suffice. And then when you actually try to have the conversation, that you intended to have, they get all upset. I don't need this. Who said this? Let's just eat. Why can't you just forget about it? Oh, let's talk about it another time. So they will bait you in saying, hey, let's talk about something, but they don't mean it. They just want you around for their own selfish needs, but they don't want to address what you need to have addressed. So know that. It's just never ending. Like they take the carrot and dangle it in front of you just to pull it away. They move the goalpost all the time. You know, you think they're going to address things and then they move the goalpost with it. You should have a partner or friend, or the people you work with should have, authentic conversations with you and address the subjects at hand. But the narcissist is incapable of that. It's just deflection, projection, gaslighting, and, diversion, really. They just divert everything to not be held accountable. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Know the signs of the crazy talk conversations. Know where it's coming from. Know that it's not you, and that it's very hard to pin down a narcissist to resolve an issue. That's what's so hard for targets to face, is that when a relationship ends with a severe malignant narcissist, there's never any accountability. There's never any reason why they did what they did to you, or why they never took accountability. You want a reason why they did what they did. And, that's why all of us really, or most of us anyway, come to the conclusion that they are just run by evil. And it does say in 2 Timothy, as I say, in the last days, there will be lovers of selves, those void of natural affection. And it says that good will be evil and evil will be good in the end times, right? And they'll be the seducers in the last days. So read 2 Timothy 3. It's all there, guys, for the end times. And it seems like these severe malignant narcissists are really hurting a lot of good people who are kind and empathetic and who have a calling for God. But the diversion that the narcissist gives, and that should be a whole other video, is to take them away from that calling and take their mind off of God and put it on the narcissist. The narcissist is extremely selfish like that. They can't have a partner that's focusing on God and giving time to God and other people unselfishly. They want all the attention for themselves. So it takes the target's time away from God and their calling and doing the right thing in life, and instead hanging on to dear life for their sanity with a severe malignant narcissist. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment. Let me know if any of this resonated with what you went through. And if you would like prayer, please put your prayer request in the comments below, and I'll be sure to keep you in prayer. I pray for all of you daily. And if you would like one-on-one Christian guidance, please email me at angelhavenministry@gmail.com, and I'll be sure to get back to you on how to do that. So thanks so much, guys. I was kicked off of Quora, guys, for violating their policy somehow. Don't ask me how. I just post information that you see here on YouTube. I don't know how that's violating their guidelines on Quora, but I was kicked off of there, off of that platform. Amazing, huh? How Christian channels are being targeted now. But anyway, still follow on Facebook and Rumble. I'm trying to catch up the Rumble page, if you notice. So if you can show your support by following on there on Angel Haven Ministry, I'd appreciate it. Also, I have a prophecy channel. That was my first channel that I abandoned when God all sent you to this channel. And the prophecy channel, which has a lot of prophecies that came true already, is Prophet's Prayer Ministry on YouTube. So try to follow on both Angel Haven Ministry and Prophet's Prayer, and I'll see you next time, guys. God bless.